here we go, deep dive into Pecha Kucha. So this journey of the Green Kashmir Permaculture Trust started way back in 2015 and is still ongoing today. And I just wanted to share a little bit about this incredible journey that some of us have been on together. And I'm not sure how long that is, so I'm just going to click on to the next one. So yes, Kashmir. Oh, wow, what you could say about Kashmir. What a beautiful and a timeless place with a beautiful culture and a beautiful history, and a place that once you visited it, it divides your life into two. Your life before Kashmir and your life after. And it certainly did that to me. So I'd just like to introduce myself and Shah. We're the two co-founders of the Green Kashmir Permaculture Trust. That's Shah, was on the left of my screen. Hope he's on the left of yours as well. And we met back in 2004 in Kashmir, and we actually married. We got married out there, and I lived out there for some time. And we looked at so many different ways to help the situation in Kashmir, because it's also a conflict zone. And well, when we came across permaculture, we realised we'd found something very different and with huge amounts of potential. So we found out about permaculture in 2015 at the International Permaculture Convergence in London, and we heard about permaculture in a conflict zone, and that kind of was a bit of a wake-up moment for us. And so in 2016, there was a group of us that went along to Kashmir to do a very basic introductory course in permaculture, which would have been the very first of its kind. Here are some of the ladies. We were meant to be a big group, but there was a lot of unrest, as there often is in Kashmir. And so we whittled down to just a few members at that time, Jenny Lynn and Victoria Woods here. Victoria Woods is also a permaculture teacher. So this little quote, Sheikh ul-Alam, he's a Kashmiri saint, and years, like centuries ago, he spoke of no forests, no food, so that rings true. So in 2016, this is a group of the wonderful students who participated in the first ever introduction to permaculture in Kashmir. And it turned out that it was a rather auspicious time, because while we were doing the permaculture course, we heard the news that Bill Mollison had passed, what we call the founder or the father of permaculture. So it added another touch to the proceedings. There was a curfew going on at this time, so it was very, very difficult to get together and to do this. But where there's a will, there's a way. So after 2016, we went back in 2017. I actually gave up my full-time job and I stayed for quite a while. I was there for 4 months. And this is an example of from the top down and from the bottom up, and how permaculture reaches the parts that I believe other systems just can't reach. So this is the university, the agricultural university in Kashmir, known as SQUAST. Those are its sort of initials. And here, the gentleman in the blue suit is the Vice Chancellor. The gentleman on his left next to him is the Director of Research, Dr. Zargar. And I found myself liaising with these gentlemen to get their permission to put on a full PDC course with the support. Rosemary Morrow was coming out from Australia to join us to actually teach the PDC. So there she is. So here she is. She came all the way with Jed to Kashmir. And we had an amazing time with graduates and undergraduates and PhD students from the Agricultural University of Kashmir. They all came together. We had some international students as well that joined us. And we did the full 72-hour PDC. And it was an amazing experience. People really grew in front of our eyes. And the Dr. Zagar, the gentleman in the previous picture, he said, "What have you done to my students? I've never seen them grow and become so confident and bold in such a short period of time." So here we are in the famous Mughal Gardens in Kashmir, where we had, I think, which is quite a traditional thing in permaculture. Once you've completed anything, you come together and you celebrate and you eat food together and you tell stories. So, yes, this is all of us celebrating in this beautiful place on an autumn day. Many of the students here who all studied at the Agricultural University, they've all gone on to work in different aspects of agricultural science, and they've taken permaculture with them. While Rosemary was with us, with Jed, she also very, very generously offered to lead a teacher training in permaculture. So some of the graduates who had done the PDC, the 72 hours, they then stayed on and did a short course in teaching permaculture. And you can see how delighted they all are to receive their certificates. Yeah, I think one of the gifts of permaculture, and especially the way that Rosemary was teaching it, was the way people just came together as a community and showed their talents and their individual personalities and grew in confidence and potential. So we were able to take a delegation of Kashmiris down to the International Permaculture Conference and Convergence, which was being held in Hyderabad that year in 2017. And that was quite something, really, to take a group of Kashmiri students with us to attend the conference. Vandana Shiva was there in Hyderabad, and then the convergence was held at Pulam Farm. The reason I put this photo in is there are some people from Lush here, Ruth Andrade and Joe Bridger, and everybody in the picture was supported by Lush to actually deliver some part of their permaculture projects. So it was a great debriefing at the end of the convergence and conference, and a great coming together of like-minded people. After the training in the permaculture design course and in the training of teachers, and after the event down in Hyderabad, we stayed on in Kashmir and we worked with some of the young farmers who'd been studying with us. Some had land, some had a small holding, to help them implement well, really some of the things that they'd learned about permaculture on their land. And it was a very uplifting time. I just see some of the little pictures, some of their results. So 2017 was a really full-on year, an amazing year. It was like a dream come true, really, being able to take something as life-changing as permaculture into a situation where the problems are so deeply entrenched and unresolvable, seemingly. In 2018, we turned our attention to working with young people, and we worked with several schools in and around Srinagar. One aspect was a plantation drive, they called it, planting saplings in the Himalayan foothills, and the young people from a nearby school coming out and learning how to plant trees. And the other side was we had a guest teacher join us, Justin Robertshaw. He had actually travelled over from Bali, and he led a composting workshop for young people. And you can see they got so involved, they had to collect waste food from their home in the morning to bring it to contribute to the composting lesson. So yeah, it'd be really nice to link these young people actually at some point through the schools, possibly with Perma Youth. So moving on, 2019 was another big year for the Green Kashmir Permaculture Trust, because after working with the universities, we spoke with some of our students and we said, what do you think is the best next move for us to make? And the advice that came back was to now go across from the university and work with the government directorate of agriculture, the government department of agriculture in Kashmir. And we were given an introduction one morning. I was just going to go and show a PowerPoint presentation to Mr. Andrabi, the director. And he said, oh, we've got a meeting. All of the extension officers are coming from all over Kashmir this morning. Why don't you stay and give your presentation to them? So thrown in at the deep end, which is what I love about permaculture, sink or swim. And of course, we like to swim. And what we were putting to him this time, our new mission was to deliver training in permaculture to the agricultural extension officers across the 10 districts of Kashmir. And unbelievably and amazingly, he said yes. So this is on a very cold winter's day, because up in Kashmir in northern India, we do get snow. We did this introduction. We were supposed to have a lot of experienced international permaculture teachers with us, but once again, there was a curfew and political unrest, and it was deemed unsafe. So Shah and I found ourselves on our own for this trip. And I just rolled up my sleeves and I said, okay, I'll have a go. So here I was, humble pie really, teaching permaculture and agroecology to highly qualified agricultural extension officers, and they were amazing. They were so open-minded and broad-minded, and they loved it. And as you can see, permaculture got a thumbs up. So this on the right is one of the agriculture extension officers who studied with us, and on the left is one of his farmers. And I put this in because this farmer is an incredible initiative. He actually successfully reintroduced an old heirloom variety of rice called mushki bhuji, if I've pronounced that correctly, which basically means a rice with a very beautiful fragrant smell. And he brought a packet in, which I bought a few packets off of him, and we cooked it at home, and it was delicious. So yeah, I just wanted to share that success story with you. In 2019, this young lady here, Juveria, she actually was on the PDC course that we originally did back in 2017. And then she went on after finishing her studies to become an agricultural extension officer. And here she introduced us to one of her farmers, Mr. Bashir, an extraordinary man who was a very successful, diverse, imaginative farmer, and it was an absolute delight and pleasure to meet him. And I had this secret wish afterwards that I wanted to work with him for a whole year and go through all the seasons with him. But an amazing human being who really waxed lyrically about the wonders of the vocation of being a farmer. That same trip, we did do a lot that trip. One of the agricultural extension officers invited us up to another site, another part of the campus of the university. And there was a conference. It was a snowy day. It was very difficult to find. It was an empty campus, but there was a conference going on. And we walked into this room and we found ourselves on the spur of the moment invited to speak about why we were in Kashmir and what we were doing. And the gentleman in the middle there is Dr. Nazir Ganai. He was the director of strategic planning and monitoring. And I think there was a bit of an aha moment, because as you can see, he's lifted his glasses and he's looking, and it was like he really got permaculture. He really understood just from a brief introduction that I gave. And that same day, he said to us, we want you to work with us to put permaculture on the syllabus of the university, which was an amazing moment. He has since gone on. I just found out he's now become the Vice Chancellor of the university in December of last year. So because of the pandemic, we haven't managed to do that with him yet, but I think it would be an incredible initiative to work on, and would be lovely to collaborate on that. Another part of our work is because of the amount of trauma that I saw in Kashmir. My background is in holistic health and yoga. We decided to work with a group of social workers and doctors and mental health doctors in a local hospital in South Kashmir, where there's been a tremendous amount of loss of life of young men, for example. And we did this kind of healing mental health medical camp together. And this is where the idea of trauma-informed permaculture started to hatch for us at the Green Kashmir Permaculture Trust. So yeah, it was an amazing thing to introduce sort of mindfulness practices and to work with community growing and kitchen gardens for mental health and well-being. Very amazing people and very uplifting experience, and huge scope for this kind of work here in Kashmir, but around the world, I think, and especially where people are living with conflict. Just want to briefly mention, this is a women's cooperative that Green Kashmir has been very, very involved in setting up. And the idea was to honour the traditional handicrafts and stitch work of the women of Kashmir, which, like many things, is at risk of dying out. And we worked with the women to introduce these chakra designs because of my background in yoga. And there are over 40 women working on the project now, and we import their products into the West and sell them at holistic festivals and yoga festivals for them. And the women are able to do this work at home whilst looking after their children or their elderly relatives. So this is another kind of, and we're working with them on kitchen gardens. It's just a micro business, if that's the right word. But it's been incredible to kind of include this in the permaculture vision. So I hope I've kind of not talked for too long. I probably have, but I just thought I'd leave you with some beautiful images of a very magical place, and to thank you all for listening, and to thank you, Morag, for this opportunity to have a go at Pecha Kucha. Thank you.
Oh. My heart just feels so full with all the things you have just shared, Amber. My gosh, phenomenal.
It was a lot, wasn't it?
Phenomenal work. I mean, from the I guess the scale and the breadth of the work that you're doing. Lots of small scale conversations, small scale projects, but together. From speaking with the heads of university and transforming how agricultural extension workers are going out. I mean, that in itself, like each particular part of the work that you're doing has profound ripple effects. You take that idea of you train up all the extension officers that are going out into the communities and then they have a lens of permaculture, what difference that's going to make, for example. So quite extraordinary work. So I'd love to see if anyone has any questions for you or any comments. Just either, I mean, we're quite a small group today, so feel free just to jump on in and speak up.
I might just jump in. As a woman doing this work, it seems like you've really just had a lot of success and people saying yes. Have you had any sort of hiccups in the road, or has it really just all been free flowing and open-minded?
I mean, it's a really tough thing to do. The living conditions, the weather conditions, the societal conditions, the place has been ravaged by an ongoing conflict. It's a dangerous place to move around. There are curfews, there's blockades all over the place, particularly when the key disruption is on, the calmer times of the year. But we ended up often going when there was disruption on. And obviously, I found myself in a very male-dominated world in the large establishments. I mean, there are a lot of women. I'm so impressed by how many women are going on to much higher and further education. Is really encouraging. There's an equal opportunity for women to study. But I noticed when we were in some of the districts that particularly where there was a very strong presence from like the kind of lead of that region, the women were quite hesitant sometimes to speak up and speak out, and I was always kind of encouraging them and turning towards them. But I don't know what it is, but there's a magic that happens with permaculture. It just gives you a kind of freedom pass. It just gives you a lion's heart. And you know, like if you're passionate about something, obviously I was very passionate about Kashmir, and that was linked with my relationship with my husband and his family. But I found myself having to step in time and time again because other people who wanted to come couldn't come because they thought it was too dangerous. And it was as though there was another force. I don't mean to sound too kind of biblical here, but there's like another force that came alongside us to help us. And you just find the courage. And I mean, those roads, those journeys to those different districts in the heat, in the heart of winter, they were tough. I don't know, I'm rambling. I hope I've answered some of your questions, Sheba.
Oh, you totally have. Thank you so much. And you talk about that other force, you know, that's exactly right. When your heart's in the right place, things just open up. And wonderful work. I'm just in awe of your work. And thank you for being here, for doing this.
Thank you, Sheba. Thank you.
I love the way that you describe so many things, Amber, you know, from that, the lion's heart, you know, like, and I, you know, I find that too. It's in a way, and this special pass that you get, because, you know, in a way it's, you're stepping forward and you're speaking up for the earth, for community, for well-being. Yes. It's not about you and me. It's not about I'm trying to give you my ideas and someone else. It's like there's this body of wisdom, of ancient traditions as well. You know, it's all of that together, and you're just finding the courage to open your mouth to come out in a way, you know, and to make sense of that. I also like the way that you talk about trauma-informed permaculture and permaculture in conflict. So it's like really bringing and like connecting permaculture and describing situations or describing approaches to address those situations through a permaculture lens, and really putting language to that, articulating that clearly, and then seeing what the impacts are. I love that little chalkboard thing you had there, no forest, no food. Was that a traditional cleric or something from the area? Like who wrote that?
Yeah, so he's a Kashmiri saint, and his name is Sheikh Sheikh Ul Alam. There's actually a whole department at the Kashmir University, not the agricultural university. There's another university across the way that does the arts and the humanities, and there's a whole department there dedicated to his work. And there's a very famous saying, it's in Kashmiri, and I probably won't say it very well, but it basically reflects back that, you know, without the forests there will be no food, and we really kind of have come to understand that. And all of the Kashmiri people know of him. He's like a hero, he's like a folk hero for them, and we brought that in. And I actually feel as though in some mysterious way he's become our own patron saint for the Green Kashmir Permaculture Trust. I don't know how you feel about that, because obviously he's long gone, but it was as though when we brought this in, it really, people were like, hang on a minute, we know this stuff already. We know this stuff already. Our, you know, ancient ancestors and saints were teaching this stuff. So suddenly when we brought these quotes in and reminded people of their own ancestry and their own heritage, it was a really beautiful, incredible moment of acceptance and embracing, you know, what we were there to share.
You've given me goosebumps, Amber. You know, I think you've touched on something that is really at the core of the way of communicating permaculture and being an educator that is so deeply connected with the people and the place where you are. It's knowing that enough to then be able to draw on that and to find what are those threads of connection that you're weaving into, rather than putting a blanket on top of.
Yes.
And so I love the fact that you've got those sort of that handicraft that is in a way a tapestry. It's how you're weaving these ideas into something that's already existing, as opposed to trying to do something new. And I just thought, I know we've got to move on to Sheba, but I wanted to ask you about these handicrafts. I'm just going to share my screen. I pulled up your site here. Can you see? People see this?
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
I've made a note of that website as well, because I'm interested too with what I'm doing with my Reiki and stuff. So well done on that.
Oh, wow, yes.
What I
The
was
Reiki masters.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amber.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
All I was going to say was, like, maybe as part of letting people know about what happened in this session is to also let them know that there's this available, and this is a way to support directly back into the community that you're working with. So we should do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, the first product was the yoga mat bag that you had on the screen there. That was the first product that we designed, and then obviously that appeals to the yoga community. And then we designed it, it evolved into a banner, and that, Sheba, was when a lot of Reiki practitioners and healers also kind of came to the party, so to speak. Yeah, and just, I mean, it's incredible that these women are doing this in these difficult times. But if I may, just one last point I wanted to make is that I feel as though there's a part of society that is disempowering people. You've got to be, if you can't sing unless you're a professional singer, you can't dance unless you're a professional dancer, you can't do anything unless you're a highly qualified professional. And, due respect people that study and really give themselves to something. But what happened with permaculture is it just empowers people so much. And suddenly you can just embrace all kinds of things and find confidence that you didn't know it was possible to have. And that side of permaculture is the thing that I just rejoice in so much. I'm so excited by it, because I think that's, one of the ways that so much more change is going to come about. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber, for bringing these stories to us. I feel like a great sense of upliftment in the room, and I'm excited to share it out with the rest of the community too, through the recording of this. And I am very excited too. Not just what you're talking about too, about all of these groups, but also taking it to the university. For there to be a department of permaculture at the Kashmir University. Wow, how amazing is that?
Absolutely incredible. Yeah. And I just couldn't believe it. Preparing for this, Pecha Kucha, I found out that man that was so broad-minded has now become the vice chancellor. So let's get ready to create a syllabus.
When the next year happens, there we go. Well, thank you. And congratulations for all the work. I know it's not easy work. I know you've dedicated so much of your life to this work. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us as well. And lovely to see you, and thank you for staying up at midnight to share it with us.
I'm a night owl.
Oh, good. Well, you look very bright, so there we go. You obviously are.
Don't try and catch me at 6.
No. Oh, thank you, Amber. So